The sun was dipping low behind the skyline, painting the city in streaks of orange and gold. The cafe was busy, filled with the hum of chatter and clinking cups. But at one corner, a young waitress named Lila was trying to finish her shift without drawing attention. She wiped the counter nervously, glancing toward the large black car parked outside. A man in a tailored suit had just stepped out of the car. He was tall, imposing, with sharp features and an air of wealth that seemed to make the world bend around him. Lila recognized him immediately, the billionaire everyone whispered about in town. Her heart raced, and she remembered something her manager always said: "Stay calm, stay professional." But this wasn't a normal visit. Lila's sharp eyes caught the subtle movement of two men standing by the car, their earpieces and dark glasses making her stomach twist. She didn't know much German, but the words she heard were enough to make her freeze. Something dangerous was happening, and she couldn't stay silent. She took a deep breath, making her way toward the entrance. "Sir," she said, her voice steady despite the pounding in her chest, "you shouldn't step into that car. I heard something. The guards are speaking German." The billionaire looked at her, eyebrow raised, as if amused by the warning. She tried to keep her voice calm. "It's not safe. Please, trust me on this." She noticed the slight pause in his movement, the way his eyes narrowed as he considered her words. Around her, the cafe continued its rhythm, oblivious to the tension building outside. The man's assistant appeared behind him, whispering something that made the billionaire frown. Lila realized she had only seconds. She leaned in slightly, lowering her voice. "They're not just guards. They're professionals. I think they're planning something." He chuckled softly, shaking his head. "And why should I believe a waitress?" Lila's fingers twitched as she gripped the edge of the counter. She knew this was a gamble. "Because," she said firmly, "I don't want to see anyone get hurt. Not you, not anyone around you. Please, just listen." He stared at her for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then, almost imperceptibly, he took a step back, letting his eyes flick toward the car again. Lila felt a tiny surge of hope. Maybe he would listen. Maybe she could prevent something terrible. Suddenly, the cafe door rattled as a gust of wind swept in, and Lila's mind raced. Her manager had once told her, "Sometimes courage isn't loud. It's quiet, and it's the only thing that matters when no one else sees it." She took that thought and held it tight. From where I watched, I could see the billionaire's gaze sweep over the street, calculating, weighing risks. And in that moment, the air between them seemed to stretch and contract with unspoken tension. Lila's heart beat so fast she thought it might escape her chest. "Stay behind me," he finally said, his voice low but firm. Lila nodded, stepping closer to him, the crowd in the cafe completely unaware of what might unfold in the next few minutes. The guards outside were still speaking in German, their voices sharp and clipped. Lila caught fragments, words like schnell, passen, right. Her mind, though panicked, managed to catch the danger. Something was coming, and they were prepared. She glanced at the billionaire, noticing the slight twitch in his jaw, the careful way he placed one hand near his pocket. He wasn't panicking. He was calculating. And that gave her a sliver of confidence. "I need you to trust me," she said again. "Whatever happens next, don't step into that car. Please." He tilted his head, considering her plea. Lila could see the gears turning behind those sharp eyes. Then the car door opened. A suited figure stepped forward, smiling politely, speaking words that sounded harmless enough. Lila's stomach knotted. She knew appearances could be deceiving. One wrong move, and everything could fall apart. Her pulse was deafening in her ears. She thought of the subscribers on her favorite channel, always saying how small actions could save lives. She whispered to herself, "If you see something, say something. Don't wait." The billionaire turned to her slowly. "All right," he said finally, a hint of respect in his tone. Lead the way. Lila felt her legs almost give out, relief mixed with fear. They were stepping into danger together, but at least he had chosen to listen. From that moment, the cafe faded into background noise. Only the street, the car, and the lurking danger mattered. Every instinct screamed at her to be ready to act. And somehow, she knew this was only the beginning. I watched silently, heart hammering. Lila had done something incredible. She had stood her ground, warned someone with power far beyond her own, and maybe, just maybe, saved a life. The billionaire glanced back at her, a subtle nod of gratitude that made her pulse spike. Lila knew the next few minutes would test them both in ways neither could imagine. But for now, she had done the first, most important thing. She had been brave. The rain had begun again, tiny droplets pattering against the black car and the pavement, blending with the tension that hung thick in the air. Lila followed the billionaire's instructions, keeping her voice low as they approached the street. Each step felt heavier than the last, each shadow a potential threat she had to navigate. The guards outside had shifted slightly, noticing movement, but still unaware that the person they had underestimated was now leading the man they thought untouchable. Lila's heart thumped, and she whispered, "Stay close, and don't make sudden moves." He nodded, eyes scanning, ready for anything. From the corner of her eye, she saw a reflection in the car window, a flash of motion, too quick for anyone else to notice. She pressed herself against the billionaire instinctively, pulling him just slightly out of line of sight. He glanced at her, raising a brow. "Good eye," he muttered. The suited figure who had stepped forward earlier was now walking briskly toward the car, but Lila could sense hesitation. Her warning had shaken him, even if he tried to hide it. She realized that a single word or gesture could now set everything in motion. "Are they going to attack?" she whispered. The billionaire shook his head slowly. "Not attack yet. They were planning something, but now we have the upper hand. Timing is everything." Lila swallowed hard, trying to steady her breath. The car door opened again, and the billionaire took a step back, letting Lila move ahead slightly. She gestured subtly, guiding him toward a narrow alley that branched off the main street. They moved quietly, each step calculated, every shadow a potential threat. As they reached the alley, the wind carried a faint whistle, followed by the muffled voices of the guards speaking German. Lila's instincts screamed at her to hide, to stay invisible, but she kept moving, leading the billionaire deeper into safety. Finally, they ducked behind a delivery truck, breathing heavily, hearts racing. He glanced at her, eyes softening. "You were right," he said. "You saved us." That simple warning. It made all the difference. Lila shook her head. "I just noticed something was off. That's all." He studied her for a long moment, then smiled faintly. "No, it's more than that. Most people wouldn't have said anything. They would have waited, watched. Let fate decide. You acted. Courage isn't common." Lila felt a warmth spread through her chest, a mix of relief and pride. Outside the alley, the street seemed calmer, though she knew the danger wasn't gone. "What now?" she asked softly. He paused, thinking. "We get out of here, somewhere safe. Then we figure out who wanted this to happen." Lila nodded. She felt the weight of what had just occurred. A waitress, a billionaire, a hidden threat. She had stepped up, and in doing so, had altered the course of events in a way she couldn't have imagined when she started her shift that morning. Minutes passed like hours as they carefully made their way to a small, dimly lit cafe on a quieter street. He had arranged for temporary protection there, and she realized how much influence he truly wielded. Yet, despite the wealth and power, he trusted her, believed her instincts. "You've got guts," he said quietly, breaking the silence. Lila laughed softly, brushing her hair back. "I didn't think it was guts." I just knew something felt wrong. His gaze lingered, the respect and admiration clear. They finally reached safety, the night quiet around them, and Lila felt her knees weaken. "You're going to be okay," he said, placing a hand gently on her shoulder. "Thanks to you, we're okay." She nodded, unable to find words, the adrenaline slowly ebbing away. From that night forward, their paths intertwined in ways neither could have predicted. Lila, once a simple waitress trying to get through her shift, had gained the trust of a man whose decisions shaped fortunes. And he, for the first time in a long while, had relied on someone purely for their honesty and instincts. In the days that followed, the story of the German-speaking guards never reached the public. Lila returned to her normal life, carrying with her a secret of bravery and quick thinking that few would ever know. Yet, every time she glanced at the city skyline, she remembered that night and the silent bond formed in danger. The billionaire, too, kept her close, inviting her insight on small decisions, valuing her perspective above what even some of his board trusted. And in quiet moments, when the city was still, he would remember the young waitress who had warned him, and a smile would cross his face. Sometimes the smallest act, noticing a word, a gesture, a tone of voice, could save lives. Lila had done exactly that, proving that courage, no matter how humble the source, could make all the difference. By the end of that week, she returned to her cafe, coffee cups and menus in hand, but now with a quiet confidence, a sense that her life had shifted irreversibly. And from her corner, she could see him watching, not as a boss or a billionaire, but as someone who owed a debt he could never fully repay. She smiled softly, thinking of the night, the fear, and the decision she had made. The city outside bustled as usual, oblivious to the events that had unfolded. But for her and him, nothing would ever be the same. They had faced danger together, and trust had been born in the shadow of threat. As I watched it all from the cafe's counter, I realized something profound. Heroes didn't always wear capes. Sometimes they carried trays, worked shifts, and acted when no one else would. Lila had been that hero, and the billionaire would never forget. And in the quiet hum of the cafe, with neon lights flickering and rain beginning to fall again, I thought, the world can change in a single moment if someone is brave enough to speak.